In this video, we're going to demonstrate how to replace the Human Touch Novo Backrest Actuator harness. So the first thing we're going to do is use the remote control to raise the foot and calf massager. Next, we're going to power off the chair using the power switch on the right-hand side of the chair and unplug the power cord from the rear shroud. Next step is to remove the rear shroud using a Phillips head screwdriver. Remove the 3 screws that secure it. A light is helpful in locating those screws. We can then pull that rear shroud off. And next we need to use a Phillips head screwdriver to remove the 2 screws that secure the PCB cover. And we can slide that cover off. Next, we need to tip the chair gently onto its left-hand side. So first, just keep the rear plastic shroud positioned in back of the chair, and then gently tip the chair onto its left-hand side, keeping an eye on that rear plastic shroud just to make sure it doesn't get crushed by the chair. This will just give us better access to work on that harness. Next, we're going to open up the connector junction box. The cover just simply pops off. So we're going to pop that off to expose the connectors. And inside you'll see 2 sets of connectors. The Backrest Actuator harness is the one that has the orange casing on it and 2 white connectors. So we're going to disconnect that and then cut the zip tie that secures that harness to the other cabling. Okay, so now we've identified which harness we're going to trace through to the main PCB. And so follow that one through to the back of the chair. But first we have a bunch of zip ties to cut. So first we need to trace those cables through and cut all the zip ties that are securing the actuator harness cables to the rest of the cabling. So you can follow that all the way through to the main PCB. And then there's a cable guide that has 2 screws securing it that we also need to free. Once we've cut all those zip ties, then we can disconnect the 2 white connectors from the main PCB. And then we can fish the cable through to remove it from the chair. To install the new harness then, first we'll connect it to the connector coming from the actuator. And then we need to rebundle the cables as they were before here and secure them together using a zip tie. cut the excess zip tie. Then we're going to position both sets of connectors inside the connector junction box. You'll see there's strain relief cutouts in the side of the junction box. Be sure to feed the cabling through those. And then once you have the cabling positioned in those cutouts, you can pop that connector junction box cover on. It's a little bit difficult to see what you're doing with this, so once you should hear it kind of snap on and kind of tug gently on the cover to make sure it's really connected. See, you can hear that snap is an indication that it's secure. Okay, so we're ready to feed that harness then back through to the back of the chair. And then we can connect the connectors to the corresponding connectors on the main PCB. All right, then we need to rebundle the cabling as it was before and secure it using new zip ties. It's not imperative that it's bundled exactly in the same spot. We need to keep the cables organized and kind of unable to move so they don't get caught somewhere they're not supposed to be. And remember, we also have that cable guide that we also have to replace that's secured with 2 screws. That's important. Be sure to cut all excess zip ties, of course. Okay, then we're ready to tip the chair back to the upright position to finish. Again, try to position the rear shroud as far to the rear as you can, so that when you tip the chair back up, it doesn't get crushed. There we go. Okay, next we have the PCB cover to install, which secures, you'll recall, with 2 screws. Now when putting the PCB cover on, you'll note there's 2 slots in the back of the cover. Those slots need to catch on 2 tabs that are on the back of the PCB tray. So if you install the cover back further than it goes and then slide it forward, you'll feel it catch on those tabs. That's important to make sure that the cover is installed properly. Otherwise it can pop up and cause noise during the chair recline. So once you're sure that the slots are installed on the tabs, you can replace the 2 screws to secure it. Next, we're ready to reinstall the rear plastic shroud. And you'll know that he's installed properly when the screw holes align on the back. So if you look underneath there, the light is helpful again. When the screw holes are aligned there, then you know you have that shroud installed properly. All right, next we can plug the power cord back in. And power the chair back on and use the remote control to confirm that the recline actuator is now working properly.